pretty safe to say that 2020 is basically a write-off at this point. It's been an absolute disaster so far, and we're only 4 months in. The travel and tourism industry, it's just like anything else in the world, it's been hit, and it's been hit really hard. And some of these airlines and other companies, they very well might not survive. Some are going to go bankrupt, some will never see again, and it's raising a lot of questions. When are we going to be able to go back to normal? And at this point in time, I don't see the logic in anyone buying flights or travel bookings or anything like that. There's just no sense behind it. And in this video, I'm going to try to elaborate on that and cover some facts and just general points about why you should not be booking any travel in early 2020. While the first thing I want to talk about is pretty general, it does raise a lot of good questions in regard to the whole situation we're facing in the world. When's life going to be back to normal? Can anyone answer that? No, of course not. We don't know. There's no magic ball that's going to let us see into the future and see when we can go back to doing things that we were doing what seems to be a month and a half, 2.5 months ago, depending on where you are in the world. There's so much uncertainty, and it's really scary because we just don't know the answers to these questions. And relating it to travel, how are we expected to go anywhere? The United States and Canada extended their travel ban to non-essential travel. This was a couple weeks ago, but they extended it another month and expect in a couple weeks for them to extend it another month. They can't take the risk of everything getting worse by easing travel restrictions. It's just not going to happen. And believe me, I know it's very tempting to go online, go onto Google Flights or wherever you book your flight, and book a round-trip ticket that's $100 or $120 to places you would never have been before able to go that cheap. And in general, there has been a 12% decrease in the prices of flights. And just because there's more of a supply for flights because less people are traveling, but the demand is obviously lower too because, let's be honest, who really wants to travel if it's not necessary and put themselves at risk? This is just basic econ 101 here. Like, nobody is going to put themselves at risk just to travel on a plane for no reason. So I know it's tempting to book a deal, let's say, because right now, the day I'm filming this, it's Sunday, April 26th, and I know a lot of people are tempted to book something, let's say, for the 4th of July or for Canada Day or something in August even, because stuff like around those dates are really cheap. But there's still no guarantee by those dates life is going to be normal. Like, there's absolutely no guarantee. The way I see it, no vaccine equals no travel because it just won't be safe for this kind of thing to resume. While round-trip tickets are at record low prices, unfortunately, cancellations have also been setting some records lately. There is no guarantee that when you buy a plane ticket, that plane will be going anywhere. The amount of flights that are being canceled lately, it's almost unbelievable to a certain extent, and I'm going to show you some examples of exactly that happening. Popular YouTuber Carrie Anne is a flight attendant for American Airlines. She's experiencing all of this firsthand. In one of her recent YouTube videos, she said that she was working a flight from McCarran in Vegas to O'Hare in Chicago. And this flight only had 8 passengers on it. Now that is crazy to think about. So I went on Flight Radar 24 and I looked up typically what American airline uses for planes on that specific route. So I just looked at 2 random flight numbers, and they typically use a 737, and a 737 can fit from anywhere from 85 to 215 passengers. That is crazy to think because there's only 8 on board her flight. That's that really puts into perspective of how people are not traveling right now and why you should not be traveling as well. Later on in that same video, she was traveling to Philadelphia from O'Hare in Chicago. She said that typically there are 6 American Airlines flights daily that go from O'Hare to Philly. And she said that pretty much recently 4 out of the 6 were getting canceled every day. And this really intrigued me because if that's happening in Chicago, that's definitely happening across the country. So I decided to pick a random airport in the United States and just to go look at their schedule and to see what's actually taking off versus what's not. So the random airport I picked was CLT Charlotte Douglas in Charlotte, North Carolina. In regular times, CLT is the 10th busiest airport in the United States by passenger traffic. So the day, I just picked a random day that had good weather. So April 23rd, it was 19 degrees and I believe it was sunny. So I set the time between 6 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. and I wanted to see how many flights were scheduled to take off versus how many actually took off. So between 6 a.m. and 9:30 a.m., there were 76 flights supposed to depart from CLT in Charlotte. The majority were American Airlines flights. Of the 76, 49 of them were canceled. That equals to 64%. And again, I just want to make note that the weather was clear, so there was no reason for these flights to be canceled in regular times. This is a crazy stat, and it really shows that there's too much uncertainty behind booking something, because how do you know that the flight you booked today won't be one of those 49 of 76 that get canceled? There's no way of knowing. Now, hypothetically, let's say in a few months' time, or even 6 months' time, whatever, that restrictions get lifted and we can resume to go wherever we want. There's no travel restrictions, let's just say. My question is, what's the safety aspect going to be behind that? Is it going to be realistically safe for individuals, let alone families, to travel places? Is it going to be safe to go to Disney World or Disneyland or Universal or anything like that? Although I do know, even though restrictions will be lifted, those places probably still won't be open. But just examples, like that's just a typical family vacation spot or whatever. How do you know that every single person you are going to encounter in an airport or in the destination you choose to go or whatever, how do you going to know they're telling the truth and they're not hiding information that we're supposed to know about? Like, when you go most places now, you're asked, have you been out of the country? Have you had any symptoms? How are you feeling? Stuff like that. Right now, there's no true way to know other than by listening and hoping they're telling the truth. We're relying on the honor system right now, and that poses a lot of questions. So before actually finding this article that I'm about to show you here, I never really thought about it, but then it did eventually cross my mind one day. So how are the flights that are still happening, what's the service like on them? Like, how is that working? Because we all know an airplane is a confined space, so it's obviously impossible to adhere to all social distancing rules, right? So I was curious. So I came across this article on Fox News. Now, since this is obviously not a political commentary, I have no issue using Fox News, CNN, NBC, ABC, The Telegraph, like whatever. That's irrelevant to me. This is just facts, like airline facts. I'm not into that whole thing. I don't care. So let's get into the article here. So obviously it says airline slash snacks, drinks, and middle seats during pandemic. So that's obviously, those are safety steps being taken into consideration, right? So it says here, some of the major airlines in the United States are doing away with traditional in-flight practices and policies during the pandemic. So, Alaska Airlines, for example, they won't be serving food or drinks on flights traveling less than 250 miles. Makes sense. There's no need. Those are short flights. It's fine. People can buy their own stuff in the airport. It's not a big deal. Longer flights have bottled drinks, packaged snacks. So, like a typical short flight would, right? So, these airlines, among the airlines are, like I said, Alaska, American, Delta, and Southwest have cut their drink service, food service, like basically completely. And also on the planes that are like, let's say 3x3, or if you have like a 777, that's 343, the middle seats are completely cut out, so you don't have people basically sitting on top of each other. Now, wow, this is great. Like, I'm very glad that the airlines are doing this. It still doesn't necessarily give me confidence to fly and not be nervous. I'm not saying that I'd be like petrified sitting flying. Like, I love flying just as much as anybody else does, but to me it's still not enough. But at the same time, I recognize that you really can't do much more. It's just the reality of the situation at hand. Like, they're doing the best they can, but given the current circumstances, when we are on the 26th of April, I'm still not confident to fly right now, and that's just the reality of things. Like I said before, there are some really big questions that need to be asked here, and this is just another one. Let's hypothetically assume all the restrictions are eased and people can go anywhere they want. That's all well and good. Question: where will they go? Will they go to New York? Will they go to New Jersey? Will they go to Italy? Will they go to Spain? These are some of the hardest hit areas. How is tourism going to be in some of these places? Who's going to want to go to New York? Who's going to want to go to New Jersey? Who's going to want to go to Italy, Spain? Like, obviously these are all, like, maybe not necessarily New York, New Jersey. Maybe to some people, who knows? But these are all, like, ideal vacations, all places you have to go to once in your life, right? But personally, I have no interest in going to New York, New Jersey, Italy, or Spain anytime soon. Like, even if everything's fine, I still don't necessarily want to. And that goes for all extremely densely populated areas. Who wants or will want to go to a city center? And even if you did want to go to a city center, let's say you wanted to go to Miami, let's say you wanted to go to Los Angeles, Phoenix, Chicago, whatever. What's going to be open there? There were reports that came out, I think last week or the week before, that California, or the governor of California, is talking about banning all sporting events until at least 2021. And from experience, sports, concerts, festivals, events, that is a huge reason why people travel, for personal travel, business travel. Like, just look at the business market. How many conferences, trade shows, meetings, things like that gather large groups do people go to on a monthly, weekly, yearly basis? It's crazy. And even on a personal, like, travel, vacation related thing, concerts, baseball games, hockey games, UFC events, stuff like that. When are fans going to be allowed to go back? And this is going to have a lasting effect on flying, driving, everything related to travel. It's everything that's happening, all the decisions that are made are going to have a spiral effect that's just going to come back on travel. It's going to come back on the hotel industry, everything. So these are just questions we got to ask ourselves here. The last issue I have with booking flights right now is the whole refunding situation. It's been all over the news lately, and it's been a major problem in Canada and the United States. Customers that have been forced to cancel their flights, or that have had their flights canceled on them, they're having a really tough time getting the refunds for said flights. For example, I know Canadian Airlines Swoop, they're a part of WestJet, they're an LLC in Canada, a low-cost carrier, and they've been offering, well, at first they were offering nothing, to my knowledge anyways, and then they came out with this, oh, we'll give you a voucher that you have to use within a year of us canceling your flight. And for a lot of reasons, that's just unfair, because how do we know in a year everything's gonna be fine? And like, my opinion, I believe we're gonna be fine in a year, but we're not gonna be fine in a month, 2 months, 3 months. So it's unfair to give a year, because when you're giving them a year, let's be honest, you're only giving them 4 to 6 months, really, because it's the next 3 months or more, we're not gonna be able to travel, we're not gonna be able to go anywhere. So that's why I'd be really, really hesitant to book anything now, because let's say you go out tomorrow, you book a flight for your whole family to Louisiana. Random example, but let's say you want to go to New Orleans. Well, let's say you're all set to go in August or September, and the day before, then boom. Or you get to the airport, then boom, your flight's canceled. Are you guaranteed to get a refund? A cash refund? No. Sure, you can maybe book I don't know what the cancellation policies are looking like now. They're probably really up in the air. And then even let's say you're eligible and you can get your full refund. Good luck trying to call American Airlines right now. Good luck trying to call United. Good luck trying to call Air Canada. You're going to be on hold for hours, and it's not worth the effort, in my opinion. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope it's helped in some way. I like to stress that I'm not saying don't book flights or book any travel, but just be really careful. It's very risky, and to me, my opinion, it's not worth it, and I would not. But again, if you're willing to play the risk and take advantage of the good deals and you have a safely planned trip out or whatever, by all means go for it. But I'm just saying, at this point in time, the cons outweigh the pros. So if you guys want to go take a look at any of the sources I use or anything like that, every single link to a source, a news article, a video, flight radar, the Charlotte airport, flight directory, whatever, all those links are going to be in the description. If you have any ideas for any travel related video I want to do, just leave a comment. I'll be reading all of them. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you very much for watching. Woo!